Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Season 18 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, here for round number 6 of the season, finally making around to the halfway point here in season number 18. And what a better place to do that for a little bit of short track action over at the Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. One of the shorter tracks on the schedule here. This track opened up back in 1960, only coming in at 0.68 miles in length or 1.1 kilometers for those of you who use the metric system. Second time that ASRC has ever visited this track in the about 7 years of competition that this league has been going on here. And the only other time that it was visited here was Mr. Brian Sabelski taking home the win. And I'll tell you what, Brian Zabelski has been on a bit of a sore streak so far here this season. So many runner-up finishes, so many close calls, but no checkered flag to his name yet. So who knows, maybe bringing it back to this track might be what allows him to get a win again here. Of course, we haven't been here since very, very early 2021, I believe. So it's been a pretty long time since we've been out here. But who knows? Going to be 100 laps of competition here tonight, and we'll just have to see what these 12 drivers that have made their way onto the track will have to do here in those 100 laps. That said, drivers are making their way down to the starting grid here, so how about we take a look down trackside at our starting lineup here for today. Starting out on the pole here in the number 85 machine, it's the driver we were literally just talking about. That is going to be the McConey Setup Shop number 85 of Mr. Brian Sabelski. How about back in second, though, in that number 4 machine, that Cheesy's entry out of Calgary, Canada, that is going to be Mr. Daniel Sparks, starting out on the front row on his outside. Back in third is our current championship points leader by Mr. Garrett Hess there, running in the 12 machine here tonight in that Project Avalon entry. Only the points leader by 4 points now. He missed a couple of races. That points gap between himself and Brian Zabelski has closed up very considerably, so definitely two drivers will be needed to keep an eye on here tonight. He's going to be starting off back in position number 3. How about back in fourth in that Dirt TV number 9 machine? That's going to be Mr. Johnny Bell, driver out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with his best start so far here this season. A 4th place qualifying effort. Definitely no laughing matter there out of Johnny. Definitely curious to see how that driver's going to do, because he has had just some awful luck here in the previous couple of races. We haven't seen him really manage to go, dare I say, more than about 15 laps in almost all of the races so far here this season. So starting up in the 4th position, that might finally have a bit of a turn of fate for him. Back in 5th, though, it's going to be one of those Canadian drivers. It's going to be Michael Sparks in the Moosehead Logger entry, also out of Calgary, Canada, in that 42. He's going to be starting up in 5th. Back in 6th, it's going to be the 27 of Mark Kluge in the Sargento Cheese entry, rolling it off in 6th. Then back in 7th, League Administrator Mr. Jason Gardner in the ASRC. Good Wrench number 93 back in 7th. He was the fastest driver in practice, by the way, so I'm surprised to see him starting all the way back there. We'll see if he can't claim his way up the field here tonight. How about back in 8th, though? That is going to be Derek Murphy there in the Treehouse Brewing Company entry, followed by John Atkins in the 712 entry, following back in 7th. Back in 8th, it's going to be Derek Murphy in the Treehouse Brewing Company entry back in 8th. We're skipping a row here. Kevin Alicia is the driver back in 10th. That's the driver we're supposed to be talking about right now. He is in the Save RC's Foundation number 7 machine back in 10th. That's going to be the SM Racing Products 15 machine of Garrett Street back in 11th, with Joshua Rudolph in the 188 rounding out the tail end of the field here. But just right that, the pace truck is going to make the dive down to the safety of pit lane, and we are green flag racing here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So far, so good around the field. No major hiccups here on this initial start, which is always great to see. I'll tell you what, we've had some races so far here this season that have had some major instances right on lap number 1, as we are too wide for the race lead up here. Daniel Sparks losing a position down on the inside line. That's, oh, caution flag out on the speedway already. What has happened? Looks like John Akins is around. Mark Kluge around as well in that 27 machine. Looks like everyone else is able to get it rolling. So that's what I get for speaking too soon. Caution flag coming out on lap number 1 just like that. Let's see if we can't take a look back here and figure out what exactly happened to bring out this first caution of the evening. So taking a look down here with Mark Kluge up on the high line. John Akins a bit further back in the 712 machine coming off of turn number 4. And Mark Kluge gets loose. Akins swerves to avoid, almost hangs on to it, but not quite able to. Ends up into the inside wall there just a bit. Taking another look down here, this time at John Akins. On the inside of that 93 of Jason Gardner. He sees the 27 swerve, tries to avoid, and just loses control of that truck. And not crazy damage, nothing too substantial, it looks like, on the hood of that 712 machine. So he should be good to keep racing. That 27 machine, Mark Kluge, definitely going to have to be getting some repairs done down here on pit lane. We'll take one more look down at this, at that 27 machine. Just so easy for these trucks to snap out underneath you. Fortunately, most of the damage is to the rear end of that machine, so no engine damage for Kluge to have to worry about, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's done some damage to the rear suspension. Definitely ripped the rear bumper off that 27 machine. But just like that, that's what's going to bring out caution flag number 1 here this evening. Sure enough, John Akins is down on pit lane. Mark Kluge, he made a pit stop, but he's coming back out, and they've got the bumper put back on that machine, so good for them. It does look like those are the only 2 takers down on pit lane, so nobody else coming down for any sort of strategy reasons here this evening. Just going to be those 2 takers here getting damage repaired, at least for the time being. Now, what I am curious to see, will iRacing count this as having logged a lap before the caution flag came out? If it did, then we will stack them up 2 by 2, try this thing again on a double file restart. If not, if they didn't complete the lap before the yellow flag came out, this will be a single file restart. And of course, that'll make passing all that much harder with this being such an outside line dominant track. Lights are out on the pace truck. They are not lining up 2 by 2, so it looks like that is going to be the case. It will be a single file restart here. They did not cross the start-finish line before the caution flag came out. There's going to be Brian Sabelski leading the field of green, then Daniel Sparks back in second, Garrett Hess back in third, Michael Sparks in fourth, and Johnny Bell rounding out your top 5 here on this restart. Going to be 6 laps completed when we take the green flag. Still going to be 94 left to go. And coming back around here, green flag up in the air once again. Brian Sabelski leads the field across the line. And immediately, Daniel Sparks goes up to the outside, tries to see if he can't get the nose to the tail of that 85 machine, but not quite close enough. He's going to have to file on in line there, but he's got some speed there in that 4 machine, and Garrett Hess is just behind trying to make some moves here as well. And now Daniel Sparks trying to make the inside line work. That is not something we really saw have any sort of success in practice, and you can see that 4 machine, the nose was starting to wiggle there. Definitely don't think, at least on these cold tires, that the inside line is going to be the place to be. I don't think we're going to see drivers really making any sort of passes there. Garrett Hess going to be the next driver, getting real loose coming out of turn number 3. Big wiggle out of that Project Avalon machine. Definitely seems to be like the exit of turn 4 is the real trouble spot here tonight for all of these drivers. But we've at least gotten some green flag laps in the books now. Maybe only 1 or 2, but every little bit counts. Crossing the line again, Brian Sabelski continues to lead the field. Hopeful to try and take home another potential race win here this evening. First one of the season for him if he manages to get it done. But still has a long 90 laps left to go as Daniel Sparks is spinning. He's up in the outside wall. Garrett Hess manages to avoid. And the green flag is still up in the air. That's going to send Daniel Sparks back to 4th. And he's going to spin again. He's going to lose it down on the inside. Gets in the outside wall. Keeps it rolling. Still no caution flag on the speedway, but now Daniel Sparks is all the way back to the 10th position from running up in second, just like that. And those tires on that 4 machine are going to be absolutely cooked now. Way too much heat built up in there. Hopefully he'll be able to keep it underneath them, but these tires, it's going to be real temperamental here. And you see how much he's having to nurse it through the corners here just to keep that truck from snapping out from under him again. How about further up in the field, though, we got some battles going on in the middle pack. This is Johnny Bell and Joshua Rudolph duking out. Bell on the outside in that Dirt TV number 9 machine. Joshua Rudolph down on the inside in the Skittles car. Then there's Kevin Alicia trying to make the inside line work there on the 93 of Jason Gardner. This is for 7th and 8th here. Derek Murphy also part of this battle as well. Everyone kind of single filing it out up on the high line now, but Kevin Alicia still trying to make the inside line work here, and you can pull up alongside on corner entry, but it's really hard to get the momentum on corner exit unless a driver has a little bit of a bobble like Johnny Bell did right there. And sure enough, that'll move Kevin all the way up to the 6th position there, up +4 from where he qualified. But how about Garrett Streets and Joshua Rudolph just up in front of him? Streets and Rudolph are both up +7 from where they started here this evening. Streets, of course, Streets and Rudolph were the 2 drivers at the very tail end of the field when we first initially took the green, so very big moves by both of them. Now Rudolph on the inside trying again. I mean, I really expected this to be more of an outside line dominated track because that seemed to be where everyone wanted to run in practice, but we're having a bit more success here as we have a battle for the race lead. Another driver trying to make a move on the inside line. That's Garrett Hess down there on the bottom. He's going to make a move for the race lead there on Brian Sabelski. And just like that, for the first time here this evening, we do have a new race leader, but will Hess be able to hang on to that lead, or will we see Sabelski make some moves back up here? Sabelski is shown to be a very fast driver here at this track. I'm looking at the lap times last time around. We'll see what it looks like when they come across the line here, because Sabelski did have a little bit of a issue in that previous lap, but coming across the line now here. Last time by a 22.36 for Garrett Hess, a 22.5 for Sabelski, so Hess definitely in the short term right now has the faster machine, but will it work out for him? I mean, he is the championship points leader here. He was the champion last season as well. So Garrett Hess has definitely proven he knows his way around these NASCAR racing machines, but who knows? Still a long way left to go here tonight as we see our first potentially lap car here. At least not on damage, but our first potential lap car on pace here. This is Mark Kluge in the 27 machine. And you can see those race leaders coming in hot right behind him here. And all the way back in third is Michael Sparks with a 2.5-second gap from himself to our 2 race leaders here, so that's going to be very difficult to make up. And Sparks is really kind of in a bubble right now all by himself, because Joshua Rudolph in that 188 is another 3.2 seconds back from that. Mark Kluge, though, going to pull down to the inside of the raceway, let the leaders go on by. He wants nothing to do with this battle, so that will bump Mark Kluge a lap down here. John Aikens down in pit lane. He is still in this race. He is not retired yet. They're just doing repairs on that 712 machine. And I was kind of shocked. I really expected Kluge to have, or not Kluge. Yeah, Kluge. I really expected Kluge to have more damage from that initial lap 1 incident than Atkins did. But sure enough, he already came back out on the speedway. Only had 29 seconds of repairs done to his truck. John Atkins, on the other hand, still on pit lane, has been down there for the last 4.5 minutes. But caution flag is out once again. What has happened? We're steering is for Mark Kluge. Sure enough, Kluge is around, I think, and that's what, turn 2 it looks like. No, excuse me, that was turn 4. So we're still once again back in that problem spot. Turn number 4 has just been what's bringing all of the strife here for these drivers tonight. I look down here trying to see what happened to Mark Kluge to bring out the second caution here, and looks like the truck just kind of got loose, snapped out from under him. He tries to save it, swings around the other way, very close to hitting Michael Sparks there. And he's going to back it up, try and get out of the racing line, and sure enough, that will be what brings out the second caution. How about we take a look back here right on board with Michael Sparks and see just how close that was. Everything's fine and dandy, and surprise, there's the 27. Miraculous that he did not get collected there. That was way too close. Take another look down here. Get a top-down view of this. Maybe even break out the slow motion camera for good measure, just to really hammer in just how close that was between Sparks and Kluge there. That was almost disastrous. He's trying to correct it, and sure enough, you correct it a little bit too much, and the truck just snaps back around the other way. And gosh, not even a foot of distance between the two of them. So just like that, that's going to be what brings out caution flag number 2 here on the speedway. Does look like we have... Nope, no new takers down on pit lane. Actually, that's a lie. Daniel Sparks came down. Everyone else elected to stay out, though, which is kind of a surprise here. I expected to see some more takers on pit lane, but evidently not. That said, lights are out on the iRacing.com pace truck. We've stacked them back up 2 by 2. We're getting ready to go green flag racing again next time around. Going to be 74 laps left to go when we take the green. Garrett Hess, Brian Zabelski, your front row, and Zabelski actually is on the preferred line here, so he might be able to make something work here on this restart. This is going to be Michael Sparks, Joshua Rudolph for row 2, Garrett Streets, Kevin Alicia for row 3, Johnny Bell, Jason Gardner, row 4, Daniel Sparks, Derek Murphy, row 5, rounding out your final 10 trucks still on the lead lap. Green flag up in the air, and immediately Hess goes up to the high line to defend, and he's going to make it work here. A little bit of beating and banging just behind, though. Everyone keeping it pointed in the right direction, but there was definitely a lot of scraping herds. Kevin Alicia having a couple of bumps against the outside wall coming to that green. Same with the 188 of Joshua Rudolph having some trouble there getting up into the outside wall. But we get a lap in the books. All 10 drivers still pointed in the right direction here. Kevin Alicia still scraping against the outside wall there. Definitely having perhaps some handling issues with that sound machine. There's contact. Caution flag is out yet again. That is Kevin Alicia together with Garrett Streets. So as soon as we took the green flag there, we got 1 lap successfully put in the book. And immediately a bit of contact there once again. We'll take a look back here and try and dissect what all went down there. Let's take a look down here. Of course, Streets together with Kevin Alicia. And hard to tell if one came up or the other came down, or if it was just a little bit of a racing deal there, or what. Let's take another look back. Let's ride on board here with Kevin Alicia. And we'll bust out the helmet camera here for this one. And yeah, just kind of a racing incident there. Both drivers coming together with each other, and fortunately both drivers bring it to a stop, and that incident wasn't any bigger than it was. Well, that'll be what brings out caution flag number 2, or excuse me, number 3 here onto the raceway. Garrett Streets did come down pit lane to get the truck looked at. Only 7 seconds in his pit stop, so evidently the crew said everything's a-okay, you're fine. And it looks like Kevin Alicia So having some weird technical difficulties going on, which of course it wouldn't be an ASRC race broadcast if we didn't have some weird technical difficulties. Still not getting any trackside audio here, but at least we have audio from the broadcaster's booth up here. It's a single file restart, of course, and we are getting things lined back up to go racing once again. It's going to be Garrett Hess, Brian Sabelski leading the field of green, and green flag up in the air here. And looking pretty good around the field. Once again, Joshua Rudolph trying to make moves down on the bottom of the Raceway. Nearly contact there with the 42 of Michael Sparks, but both drivers managing to give each other some room. They're keeping it pointed in the right direction here. Jason Gardner has also made some moves further up towards the front. He's now up inside the top 5 here. As again, Rudolph just trying to make that bottom line work, where really we haven't seen it work all that much for any of these other drivers that are still all sticking up to the high line. And up the front, Garrett Hess and Brian Sabelski have already pulled a full second lead over the rest of the field. Hess leading the way over Sabelski by about 0.2 of a second. As Rudolph still around the bottom line, but it looks like Sparks has pretty much completely cleared him here. And almost contact again. Rudolph getting a little bit loose, trying to avoid there, but again, everything's looking all right around the field here. Jason Gardner, Kevin Alessia right next to each other. Johnny Bell, Derek Murphy all neck and neck. Garrett Streets back there as well. Fortunately, still on the lead lap, able to recover from that incident as that 78 of Derek Murphy gets up in the outside wall just a little bit there. And that's going to allow Garrett Streets to make the move on him. Now he is running up in the 8th position, up +3 here from where he started. Not quite as high up as he was before that previous caution flag, but still on the lead lap and slowly but surely making his way up towards the top 5 here this evening. John Atkins is also back out on the Raceway here in that 712 machine. Looks like they got the damage fixed to that truck. 11 minutes down on pit lane. That was enough to put him 24 laps down, but he is out on the Raceway. He's locking laps. He's getting some extra practice in for next week's event because it actually will be a pretty similar track here to this one. And of course, there's always the chance that other drivers will be involved in even bigger incidents than he was, and he might be able to make up a couple of positions even despite being 24 laps down. Once again, going back to this battle here for 7th, though, Johnny Bell, Garrett Streets, Kevin Alessia all duking it out. Really all under a blanket here. Now Kevin trying to run a slightly lower line than all the way up on the high line like he was doing there. And Garrett Streets is the driver just behind, so now he has to figure out how is he going to get around Kevin to get back up to where he was before that caution flag flew. Of course, only 40 laps in the books. We're not even halfway through this thing here in tonight's event. But all drivers still rolling the way they need to be rolling, and I'm still shocked that like pretty much nobody has really made the call to come down pit lane under these caution flags with how far we are in tonight's event. And now Garrett Streets trying to make the move down on the bottom on the inside of Kevin Alessia, and he is there up alongside. Going down to turns 1 and 2, it looks like he has the advantage. Last time by, looking at the lap times, a 22.65 for Streets, a 22.81 for Alessia. So Streets right now is running slightly faster lap times, but it is still neck and neck between these two drivers as they battle it out for the 6th position. And Kevin Alessia just barely ahead across the line there, and he's going to scrape up against the outside line. That might just be the end of that battle right then and there. But no, not quite. Alessia still able to keep it alongside that 15 machine of Garrett Streets. It is still anyone's game here. Very great battling between these two, but it looks like that time around Garrett Streets is going to be able to clear that 7 machine of Kevin. That's going to move him back to the 7th position. Now Streets once again up +5 from where he started. How about things up at the front of the field, though? Brian Sabelski is closing in on Garrett Hess. Coming across the line here, seeing how the lap times update. Last time by, Sabelski was faster than Hess by a full 1/10 of a second. So it is very possible that we might see Sabelski be able to regain the lead here, and he might just be about to do it this time around. They are side by side here, coming through turns 3 and 4. Sabelski down on the bottom, Hess up on the high line. Only a 1/10 of a second between the two of them here. But the main issue with running the inside line here is it's just so difficult to get a run, keep the momentum on corner exit. You tend to just lose it all when you come off the corner, but still these two truckers are side by side and coming across the line here. Hess still going to be scored as our race leader across the line that time by. There's also that lap car, or soon to be lap car, just up in front of him. That is the, looks like the 27 of Mark Kluge, is it? No, that is maybe John Atkins just in front of them. Brian Sabelski is your new race leader here for the time being, so more laps led to his name. Of course, there is bonus points awarded both to any driver that leads a single lap and to the driver that leads the most laps. So both these drivers looking to go for that bonus point, because right now coming into tonight's event, Brian Sabelski only trails behind Garrett Hess in the points by a whopping 4 points. So every little one matters here. Sure enough, there is that lap car. That is the 24 of John Akins. He's going to pull it down to the inside. He also wants nothing to do with this battle going on here for the race lead. So he's just going to stay down the bottom, stay out of the way. Doing the sportsman-like thing to do here when you're currently 25 laps left down. And getting ready to go halfway through tonight's event here as well. So slowly but surely the clock is ticking down for these drivers, and I would assume here pretty soon we're going to see some potentially green flag pit stops be underway. Of course, there is always the opportunity for someone to make a mistake and bring out another caution. We're already on caution number 4 here, so who knows how the latter half of this race will go, but it looks like around the field drivers are starting to get a little bit spread out here, so should hopefully be good to get some long green flag stretches in the way here. Now both drivers coming up on a lap truck again. That is the 27 machine of Mark Kluge, who is now going 1 lap down again. Was a lap down earlier, but of course got the lucky dog. And of course that lap traffic, that little bit of a bobble was enough for Garrett Hess to get the advantage over Brian Sabelski. So now Sabelski is having to go on the offensive once again. But he's right there, like he's right on the tail of Garrett Hess. These two truckers are still very evenly matched with each other. Last time by, Hess looks like about 0.2 of a second faster than Sabelski. But it looks like the two of them now have a clean racetrack in front of them just to duke it out with each other. No lap traffic they have to worry about. And once again, Sabelski is down to the inside, trying to make that inside line work for him. Not quite able to keep the momentum up there, but Hess isn't quite able to clear him either. Ooh, neck and neck with each other, only inches apart between the two of them through the middle of turns 1 and 2 there. Sabelski still pushing this truck with everything he's got, and my main concern here too is tire wear. If this goes long, green flag running, I think Sabelski is going to be burning off more of his tires than Garrett Hess is. Really, Sabelski just needs to get around that 12 and then get back up on the high line and try and maintain these tires the best he can, because he is definitely pushing them a lot harder than Hess is right now. Hess is just kind of cruising up there on the preferred line. Really doing his best to make Sabelski have to work for it here. But Sabelski gets the nose ahead there, going through turns 1 and 2. Will he be able to make the pass? Doesn't look like it. Still neck and neck between these two drivers here. What a battle these two are putting on. They have been at it all season, all of last season as well. Sabelski and Hess have just been the class of the field for a pretty long time now, and it seems like there's a bit of a, dare I say, friendly rivalry brewing between the two of them. As Sabelski, of course, 4-time champion here in the ASRC Oval Series, has been winless here for a decently long stretch of time here. And of course, Garrett Hess nearly broke the record, actually managed to tie the record for most number of wins in a single season last season. So Sabelski is really just trying to reclaim his throne here over that number 12 machine. Still not able to clear him though. Side by side, he's got the nose ahead, and he might be clear. Will he move up to the high line? No, not quite. Just not enough space to comfortably do it there. And still Hess manages to be up alongside of him in that 12 machine. On corner exit, Sabelski's going to get it. Sabelski once again confirms himself as the race leader here. Now Hess is going to try and see if he can't take a page out of Sabelski's book and make the inside line work, which is not something we've really seen out of that 12 machine so far here tonight. But it might just be what he has to do here. But still, we have to consider pit stops here as well. These drivers still do have to pit at some point here tonight, and I would imagine perhaps the green flag pit cycle is going to be coming up here soon, so these drivers are just trying to push these tires as far as they can, knowing that they have a fresh set still available to them should they need it. And now Garrett Hess makes the move on Sabelski, much like the way Sabelski made the move on him, but he's going to drift up the corner just a little bit, going into 3 and 4. That's going to allow Sabelski to cross him over, get back down to the inside here. But it's not going to be enough to make the pass. Still neck and neck between these two drivers. Neither one of them is giving an inch here. I'm just impressed with how hard they're able to keep it side by side. Generally, we see one of these two drivers end up pulling away once they get clear, but it's just so evenly matched between the two of them. Last time by, Sabelski was slower by only 2 thousandths of a second between the two of them. And it is still going neck and neck. Now Sabelski has the advantage. Maybe a little bit of a door rub there. Couldn't quite tell between the two of them, but it is getting very close between these two drivers, and with every lap they compete, it looks like they are only getting more and more fierce and intense with this battle between the two of them. And now Sabelski holds the advantage going into turns 3 and 4, and already this battle has been going on for getting close to 20 laps non-stop there, but Garrett Hess makes a little mistake. He wobbles a little bit, and that's going to allow Sabelski to pull up to a half of a second lead there, just like that. But now that things have calmed down here, at least just a tad bit here in this battle, how about we take a quick moment to look around at the rest of the field, see how things are going for everyone else. Back in third right now is the 188 of Joshua Rudolph, who is 5.5 seconds back from that battle we were watching for the race lead. But he has things a lot less comfortable right now. There are 4 other trucks in close proximity to him. Back and forth, we have Garrett Streets up +7 from where he qualified. He's made some pretty big moves here tonight. Got spun, went all the way back to the back, and now he's all the way back up in 4th again here in that 15 machine. And how back in 5th, that 93 of Jason Gardner, running inside the top 5. Having probably kind of a quiet evening here tonight, but all things considered, really, that's not such a bad thing with the cautions and the drama and the excitement we have had here tonight. Having a quiet day in a pretty eventful race like this, and a pretty desirable position to be in, really not all that bad. Back in 6th here, we got the number 42 of Michael Sparks in that Moosehead Logger entry, running back in 6th. Johnny Bell's back here in 7th, and he's got another 5-second gap to catch up to that main pack of trucks there. Then back in 8th, Kevin Alicia, and he's having his own little battle here with Derek Murphy back in 9th. And you can see all the way further back there is Daniel Spark back in 10th as the last driver still on the lead lap. Derek Murphy closing in on Kevin Alicia there, just a little bit down to about 2.5 tenths of a second, and trying to make a move down on the inside. Will he be able to make it work? He is certainly closing that gap up to that number 7 machine, but not quite close enough to make it stick, not quite close enough to get around him here. We also have another battle going on for the 3rd position here, as Joshua Rudolph and Garrett Streets are doing it out side by side with Jason Gardner just behind. Also involved in this 3-car battle for the 3rd position. One up that time and scoring once again here. You can see how close it is between these 3 drivers. Gardner really just kind of looking at this battle, trying to see who has the advantage and follow them through here. And it looks like right now Garrett Streets is having a bit of a better time up there on the high line, and sure enough, Gardner's going to follow him through. Now Rudolph trying to hang on to the 3rd position, or to the 4th position, but it looks like he might get bumped all the way back to 5th here. But the green flag's still up in the air. We've gone about a good, call it about 30 laps under the green flag. So it looks like drivers have gotten things sorted out here for the most part here this evening. And now Joshua Rudolph has fallen back to the 5th position here officially. And Michael Sparks is slowly starting to close up here as well. We might see him try to break his way up inside the top 5 here as well. That said, while we do have a brief little bit of a lull in the action and the drama here, let's see if we can't very quickly do some technical fixes here to try and get this trackside audio playing here again. All right, there we go. We're back here. It looks like we've got the trackside audio fixed here. A little bit of a hiccup now with the timing and scoring, but once everyone comes across the line here, that should correct for everyone. So great to hear. We can hear that these race engines are roaring once again. Giving an update on these battles here. Right now, the battle down here on the screen here between Joshua Rudolph and Michael Sparks is the closest battle on the speedway here as they battle it out for the 5th position. Brian Sabelski is pulled away with the race lead up to about a 2-second gap as we cross the line to 25 laps left to go here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Garrett Hess still running in second with an 8-second gap over the rest of the field. Garrett Streets now up inside of the 3rd position with Jason Gardner duking it out with him. But right now we're looking at this battle for 5th. Joshua Rudolph, Michael Sparks neck and neck for the final spot inside of the top 5. You saw a truck down there on the inside of the track. That is Mark Kluge, who has been put down a 2nd lap here, trying to stay out of the way of our race leaders. And sure enough, he is going to keep it all the way down the bottom of the track there. He wants nothing to do with these battles going on for the race lead. Daniel Sparks has also been put a lap down while we were going through those technical fixes, as Jason Gardner had a bit of a bobble coming out of turn number 4. A little bit of a slide, ended up down on the inside of the racetrack, but he's still hanging on to the 3rd position here. I say that both him and Garrett Streets scrape against the outside wall coming down the back straightaway. That's going to allow Michael Sparks and Joshua Rudolph to get a little bit closer here. Get a little bit more involved in this battle for 3rd once again. As we bring the battle box back up here, and you can see pretty dang close between all 4 of these drivers here. Of course, that 5th truck back there, that is the 27 Mark Kluge, who is not on the lead lap right now. But otherwise, oh, trouble there. Michael Sparks, big wiggle coming out of the corner. He's going to end up off the preferred line. He's going to lose some ground here, but Rudolph not close enough to try and capitalize off of it. And it looks like we have another truck going a lap down. And looks like that is Kevin Alicia, who I'm not sure if that's actually correct. Maybe he is a lap down and I'm just confused. I'm not sure. Okay, now he's a lap down for sure. Now that timing and scoring looks correct. You can see Brian Sabelski all the way up there. Garrett Hess here. He has been absolutely held up by traffic as there's the 4 machine going around again. That is Daniel Sparks around, and the caution flag out on the speedway for the 4th time here this evening. All that advantage that Brian Sabelski had built up has been thrown out the window. Same goes for the 12 of Garrett Hess. We are bunching this field back up, and this is going to be a dramatic sprint to the finish here, everybody. This is going to be a bit of chaos here tonight. First, though, let's take a look back to see what brought out this caution flag here with Daniel Sparks. Just kind of the same story we've seen for the most part all the way around here tonight. Just getting a little bit loose, tries to hang on to it. Fortunately, doesn't collect that 12 machine of Garrett Hess that was running back in 2nd. Brings it to a stop. No harm, no foul, no contact with anyone. But, of course, stopped car, middle of the racetrack. That's a recipe for disaster, so definitely makes sense to have that caution flag flown. And sure enough, we have everyone in the field except Johnny Bell and Brian Sabelski electing to come down pit lane. Every single other driver is making a pit stop right now. And Brian Sabelski changes his mind. He says, okay, everyone else in the field is taking tires. I can't risk not taking tires myself. So Sabelski is going to come down. Johnny Bell. Johnny elects to stay out. So Johnny Bell will be your race leader when we come to the green. We'll have to see how this works out for him. He's going to have Garrett Hess and Kevin Alessia right behind him. Brian Sabelski still down on pit lane, but he's going to be coming back out on the speedway here. And of course, under caution, so not quite as dramatic here as if it were under the green flag, but Brian Sabelski finds himself in a bit of a spot of bother here. Since everyone pitted before him, he's now all the way back in 8th. He has a lot of work he's going to have to do here when we come to the green to get these positions back. It also looks like Kevin Alessia was given the lucky dog, so he has been put back on the lead lap. So it'll be 8 drivers still on the lead lap when we take the green here. We'll be 14 to go when we cross the line. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a mad dash to the finish here out of all of these drivers. Of course, Derek Murphy, Daniel Sparks are both a single lap down here as well. So should we have another caution flag, whichever driver is the best running of those two will be put back on the lead lap. But Johnny Bell going to be leading the field to the green, leading his first laps here this evening. Garrett Hess to his outside. The pace truck is off. We're going to get this thing rolling once again. 14 laps to go here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. Green flag up in the air. And we are 3 wide further back in the field. We singled back out to 2, fortunately, but we are 3 wide there for a minute. That could have been real bad. We have a driver around. Brian Sabelski stopped on the inside. Caution flag does not come out. We are still rolling here. Johnny Bell still trying to lead the battle, but they are 3 wide behind him. Rudolph, Streets, and Gardner 3 wide here as Johnny Bell is just sinking back on those older tires. He is not able to keep up with the fresh ones, and that's really not all that much of a surprise to see now that they're getting these heat worked up in them. But Garrett Hess leads the field here in the 12 machine, about a full second lead over the rest of the field already, just like that, as all this battling is going on here for second on back to about 6th. Side by side here between Streets and Rudolph. Streets out on the bottom, Rudolph up on the high line. Only going to be 11 laps left to go when we come through the corner here. And it is anyone's game. They're going to make contact. Both drivers around. Caution flag out once again. That's going to stack things back up. And we're going to have to go through another restart here before we crown our winner here tonight. I'll tell you what, race fans, that is about as much of a hornet's nest as I was expecting when we took the green there. Every man for himself. And with all that aggressive battling going on, sometimes it just doesn't quite work out here. But take a look down at this instant. Joshua Rudolph on the high line in the 188. Garrett Streets on the inside of the 15, and they just come together. Both drivers get hard on the brakes. No contact with the outside walls, which is good to see. So really not any damage on either of these trucks, but racking them back up. Gonna try this again. It's only gonna be even more aggressive this time around. We'll take another look back. We'll ride on board here with Joshua Rudolph. Definitely not what you want to have happen to you with 10 laps left to go in a race like this. I believe we did get a lap complete, though, at the very least, so this should be a double file restart again. We did have some mover and shakers under that brief little sprint there. Garrett Hess, of course, now up to the race lead. Jason Gardner has worked his way here into second. Johnny Bell still up inside your top three here. Still not pitting, I want to point out. Still not pitting in that number 9 machine, so he's still on those incredibly old tires compared to the rest of the field. But if we continue having these cautions, should another one come out, really, Johnny just needs to get only maybe 1 or 2 laps of green flag running out of these tires still. Then back and forth, it'll be Michael Sparks with Kevin Alessia in the 7, rounding out the top 5. Brian Sabelski, who has led so much of this race, he restarted 8th on that initial restart. He's now back up to 6th. And he is on the preferred line here, so depending on how this restart goes, we may see Brian Sabelski make some moves back up towards the front. But we will have to see when we get the lights out. Lights out there, so it's going to be 6 laps to go when we take the green flag. And this is going to be a very hectic restart here. Of course, there is the option of going into overtime. Should the caution flag fly again before the end of this race, we will extend the race distance to accommodate for it. But we'll just have to see. Maybe these drivers will manage to keep it clean. Maybe they won't. Jason Gardner has the preferred line here on this restart over Garrett Hess. And we might just see that 93 machine lead his first laps here of the night with only 7 to go. The pace truck's off. We're going to try this thing one more time. Green flag up in the air, and Garrett Hess gets a little bit of a better jump there, all coming to the green. Sure enough, he's going to clear that number 93 of Jason Gardner. But we are rolling and single filing out, or at least trying to. We're 3 wide here in the middle. Brian Sabelski, Johnny Bell, Joshua Rudolph here, 3 wide for 4th. I just want to reiterate there again, Sabelski is all the way up to 4th. Just like that, a stupendously good restart for the driver of that 85 machine. Now 5 to go. Big high five up in the air from Barney the flagman. We are almost at the very end of this thing here tonight. Garrett Hess still leading the field. Jason Gardner back in 2nd. Still side by side back here for 3rd. Johnny Bell, looks like those tires not holding up for him as well as had hoped. And there is Streets and Rudolph here again, neck and neck as well here. As the caution flag is out again, Michael Sparks is down on pit lane. Not quite sure what happened there or how that brought out the caution, but the caution flag came out once again. So we are going to be going into a little bit of NASCAR overtime. Let's take a look down here, because for once we actually really do need to figure out what exactly happened to cause this caution. Looking down at Michael Sparks here in the 42, coming up on the back of the 93 of Jason Gardner, and the truck just snaps around on him. And hard on the inside wall, and he immediately takes the tow down to pit lane. So that explains why he was down on pit lane, just immediately called the tow truck just like that. Let's take a minute, let's ride on board with him here. We can find where they put the onboard camera for this driver. Here we go. Take a look on board with him here. And it's just like we've seen time and time again. Coming out of turn number 4, the truck just snaps out from under him. So that'll be the cause of caution flag number 6 here as we line things up once again, as we will be going into overtime here tonight. But hey, who's going to complain about a little bit of an encore here this evening? These drivers have put on a heck of a show so far here tonight, and I have a hunch that it is only going to get even more exciting here as we add some laps to the total and try this thing one more time. Or 2 or 3, who knows, however many times it takes. We will eventually, no matter how many laps it takes, crown a winner here tonight for the Indianapolis Raceway Park. And once again, looks like it's going to be Garrett Hess and Jason Gardner, your front row. Then Sabelski and Rudolph back in 3rd and 4th. Garrett Street's Johnny Bell for 5th and 6th. Kevin Alessia, Derek Murphy, 7th and 8th. And those are your only drivers still on the lead lap right now. So this restart's going to be very interesting. Brian Sabelski, of course, is going to be very, very eager to get back up to the front, but he is not starting on the preferred lane here. The inside line, I mean, I don't know. Garrett Hess has gotten some pretty solid restarts down on the inside line. Maybe Sabelski will be able to follow him through, get around that 93 of Jason Gardner, and then he'll at least be battling up inside the podium again. We will have to see here. It's time for a little bit of overtime here tonight. We have officially crossed the line for lap number 100. So now we're aiming for 102. So the way this is going to work, green flag will come up in the air. If the caution flag comes out again, we stack them up, we go again. If they take the white flag and get to 1 to go, then they will just race to the finish no matter what's happening on track. Green flag on the end, up in the air. It's overtime here at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. And this time Jason Gardner actually gets a pretty solid run on the outside line, but it's not going to be enough to keep up with Garrett Hess. Now Sabelski is trying to make a move down the bottom, and big dive from the 188 of Joshua Rudolph there as well. But it's not going to work for him. We cross the line, white flag up in the air. No matter what happens now, we could see the biggest tracks in the entire history of motorsports. We will finish this race without going under yellow, as there are some drivers making contact. I think we have some drivers around back there, but Garrett Hess is leading the field. Brian Sabelski back in second. He's not going to be close enough to make it happen. Garrett Hess, once again, going to take home the win here for season number 18. What a race it has been here tonight. And Sabelski, what a monumental effort, climbing all the way back up to second after that caution. Jason Gardner running out your top 3. That's going to be Rudolph and Johnny Bell running out the top 5 here tonight, as we're going to be bringing it down to the front straightaway. Garrett Hess, your race winner here tonight. Let's see him burn it down. I'll tell you what, I think this might be the hardest we have seen Garrett Hess have to work for a win here this season. Normally he kind of just sails away with it, but tonight that was neck and neck time and time and time again, and he only just barely edged out over some of these other drivers. Just like that, though, he's going to take it on down to pit lane, so we will be back here in just a moment once everyone's out of their trucks, and we will get some words here with your top 3 finishers here tonight. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back here to the Indianapolis Raceway Park. 102 laps in the books here tonight as we did a little bit of overtime here this evening. It's going to be Garrett Hess taking home the win just barely over Brian Sabelski. Mr. Hess, it has been all over the place here tonight, but you managed to just barely eke out the win here this evening. How are you feeling?
Uh, I have a little bit of mixed feelings. I don't really think that I should have won that race, but I can't really complain with the P1.
Yeah, sure enough. I was saying earlier, it seems like tonight is probably the hardest you've had to fight for a win here in the last couple of races. That was a heck of a show.
Yeah, Brian, he did a great job of making me kill my tires. I was driving like heck to try to fend him off, then my car just started getting really tight, and he ended up just and then once he cleared me the last time around like lap 60 or something, uh, my tires were so cooked that he was setting about 2/10 a lap faster. So as much as I'm grateful for a caution, I didn't want it to come out because Brian's just had a terrible streak of deserved wins gone down the drain, and this is one of them. One of them, but at least I'm the beneficiary, and we race each other clean.
Yeah, sure enough. Definitely quite the chaotic race here this evening. Not quite Martinsville level of chaos, but definitely up there. Did you have any expectations on how you would be doing when you came into tonight's event?
Not particularly. IRP is one of those tracks that I don't run very often. The last time I did do IRP was when we went here during the ARCA series, and Brian kicked my butt then. And he was kicking my butt this race until that caution came out. But I'm pleasantly surprised that that I was able to have some sort of speed here.
Sure enough, it definitely managed to work out for you here tonight, and that should keep you up in the lead of the championship point standings. It was down to only 4 points between the two of you when you came into tonight's event. Should be still pretty close next week when we head over to Stafford Motor Speedway. So, how are you feeling about taking this truck out to another flat track?
Stafford is one of them tracks that I am not good at all. Like it is just a track that my mind cannot really comprehend. I'm hoping to have a little bit of a cleaner race. I hate that I got into Daniel on like I think it was like lap 3. I don't know how me and him got together. Maybe I just overcooked the corner and got into him, but that killed his race from lap 3 when he was probably going to be one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. But at Stafford, it's a weird track. You can go below the apron in the corners, so you never know really.
Yeah, certainly, definitely a lot to be looking forward to. I know you said that this season kind of running part time here, so how are you feeling about your potential availability here for these final 6 races of the season?
Unless God strikes me down with lightning or something, I should be able to do it. Even if I might not like some of the tracks like Stafford, I'm leading the points. I kind of if I want to have the cloud of winning a championship, I kind of have to show up to the races. So me not showing up to Bristol because that's just a no-go track for me. Really close with the points battle, but I'm looking forward to the last half of the season.
Good deal. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you out there then. But of course, for tonight, I won't keep you here all evening. You got another win to your name. The microphone is all yours, Mr. Hess. Who do you want to thank for making things happen?
I want to thank everyone at Team Watson Racing, a great group of guys over there. Team Watson Racing setups. If you need setups for pretty much any NASCAR or oval car, teamwatsonracingsetups.com. Want to thank everyone, the friendly schizophrenics at the Project Avalon Forum, Chronicles of the Human Awakening, funny group over there. I want to thank Andrew Schumacher. He's the owner of SRL. He allows me to broadcast for his league. Just had a big 4-hour broadcast last night. Lots of fun over there. It's on FTN if anyone's interested. And I want to thank Mark Frimpong for making Marca the greatest ARCA racing league on iRacing. And besides that, I want to thank my brother for giving me something to wake up to in the morning. And I want to thank you and Jason for putting on the show.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congratulations on another win to your name, and I look forward to seeing you next week over at Stafford.
Yes, sir. See you then.
And finishing back here in position number 2, only 3/10 of a second behind. Once again, kind of another agonizing finish here tonight for you, Brian, but you had such an amazing race leading up to it. How are you feeling here this evening?
Aiden, if I had a nickel for every time I was out to a dominant lead and the caution completely cost me a win, I would have 3 nickels, and that's 3 nickels too many. So I'm a little sad about that. Obviously we had a great battle with Garrett all night, so I got no complaints about that. He was very quick. Just unfortunate timing on that caution, really more than anything else. It's just unfortunate that the caution got called because it was a sideways car that was like partially sideways on the track, and it was like, yeah, I need to throw yellow for that. And then on the restart, I ended up spinning around and didn't get a caution for that. So it was just inconsistent reffing for my racing on that, which is kind of frustrating, but I can't control that. Still, I don't know. I don't know how I drove back all the way up to second there and almost still won the dang thing anyways. So I guess I can't really complain too much about that. I was still competitive at the end, still had the card to beat, and one of these days we're gonna get one of these long runs that actually goes the rest of the race, and I can show what I'm capable of with that, and not have it turn into a 10-lap dash to the end where everyone just goes and gets tires, and we're all just beating and banging and slamming on each other for 10 laps.
Sure enough, and of course another podium to your name means you're still going to be pretty dang close to Garrett here in the point standings going into the latter half of this season. And you've shown tonight how good you are here at this little flat track. Do you think that speed will carry over going to Stafford next week?
Hope so. Stafford's been a track that's been really kind to me as far as like I drive well there. I don't think my official race stuff kind of like shows that, because I tend to get slammed into by somebody who thinks that dive bombing is acceptable to do there, because you can do that, and this is a much better group than people who show up for C fixed. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll have our spins and stuff like that, but that's to be expected. But hopefully we won't have anyone who's like trying to win the race on lap one, like shows up in officials and all that. So yeah, I feel pretty good for next week as far as am I gonna win? If I'm leading at around lap 70, probably not. I'm sure a caution will come out, and then I'll have to try and drive through the field again. It seems to be the way this works now. But yeah, if we can keep it green and keep it going, I think I probably have a decent opportunity to be back here next week, hopefully with a win. If not with a win, probably definitely with another podium, or a P2 maybe in my name. We'll see on that. But yeah, just kind of frustrating, but not frustrated at anyone, just frustrated at the situation kind of night for me. That's all.
Yeah, of course, following after Stafford, we have Kansas, North Wilkesboro, Talladega, Nashville Superspeedway, and then a 150 lapper at Five Flags to crown the champion here. Out of what's left here for the second half of the season, what do you think is going to be the track that you have your best chances on?
Anything before Nashville. I will not be here for Nashville. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town. So as much as I would like to be here for that one, I love that track in this car. I won't be able to make that one. Thankfully, we have drop weeks, so I'm not too worried about that. Five Flags in the truck I've done before. I'm not really a fan of. So with it being the finale, it's kind of like, a little bit of apprehension on that, but I'm still gonna do it. The other three, I think I've got really good shots at all of them. Stafford, North Wilkesboro, especially the short tracks. I think I can really, if things fall the right way for once, it's this season. I think I probably have a good chance of walking away with one or more wins.
Good deal. Well, I definitely see it. Look forward to seeing you out there because you have shown you have speed every single race this season. Eventually, something's going to have to fall into place for you.
Yeah, it will. Talladega will be kind of a. I think that's just going to be a crapshoot in general, just because of the way these trucks race. It's one big pile of cars, and you just have to kind of like do your best. I ran Talladega Saturday in the Cup car, and I kind of sneaked my way through to P25. So, uh, yeah, that's all on the table and all possible. So, um, we'll see how everything goes.
Certainly sounds like a plan. If nothing else, I can vouch that you'll do better than P25 in our Talladega race.
I hope so. That'd be kind of weird.
Well, for now, though, I won't keep you here all night. You got another podium to your name and a heck of a drive by all around here tonight. So the microphone is all yours. Who do you want to thank for making things happen here?
Of course, thanks to Jason for organizing everything with the league. Another good race with Garrett. So thank you for keeping it clean there. We had some excellent side by side battles, and it's always good to have. There's a lot of trustworthy folks in this league. You can race with. And it's good to have that around. Of course, McConey Setup Shop, official setup shop of NASCAR. Always appreciate what they do. Folks that take this, pause your game for having me on board with their stream team programs. Love that. Also, hi everyone in Twitch. Hi, nice to see y'all here. SM Racing Products, official. Kind of the unofficial button box of ASRC, I guess you could say. So many of us have them, but they put together a good product. Yeah, and of course, I think I said Aiden, thanks for broadcasting, but if I didn't, thank you for broadcasting. And yeah, see you next week.
Good deal. Thank you for coming out here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you over at Stafford.
Thank you.
And finishing back here in position number 3, it's the titular organizer of the ASRC Oval Series himself, Mr. Jason Gardner. I think this is the first time I've had you up here in the broadcast booth here this season, so how are you feeling here tonight?
I'm feeling exhausted.
Fair enough. I mean, from what I saw up here, this certainly seemed like quite the workout.
Oh, it was. IRP is a very fun track to race, but it's also extremely, at least for me, demanding.
Yeah, I can certainly imagine so, especially with all the cautions we had got us starting and stopping here tonight, and a lot of close battling that y'all had back there in the mid-pack, so I'd imagine you were pretty much all the way up on the wheel all night tonight.
Yeah, if it's not trying to keep the truck off the wall, it was trying to keep the truck from spinning out of turn 4.
Yeah, it certainly seemed to work out for you here this evening. You got a podium to your name here tonight. When you came in here, did you have any particular expectations on where you were planning to finish here?
Not not really. I was hoping probably at least a top 5.
Fair enough. Well, it certainly seemed to work out for you. You did even better than that. You got a podium to your name. Of course, for a lot of tonight's event, you were running back kind of in the middle of the pack. So what'd you need to do to get up inside this podium here?
Uh, be, well, for the long run, I was trying to save my tires. Hopefully, try to at least get a 3rd place at the end, which I think what was it, lap 75 when the caution came out. That's when the whole tire saving went out the window. But to be honest, it was just pure luck. I managed to get 3rd place today because I wasn't very fast on fresh tires. I know, like Garrett and Sparks were much faster. Well, Garrett Streets was much faster than I was on fresh tires.
Fair enough. A little bit of overtime sometimes shakes things up here for everyone. Of course, next week, though, we're going to another flat track and a little bit smaller than this one. So how are you feeling about your odds over there at Stafford?
Um, hopefully pretty good. Hopefully I'll take take this momentum and get me at least another third, maybe a second place out of it.
Certainly seems like a good goal to be going for because, I mean, it worked out here for you tonight. Might as well make it work again at another track in a similar style here to this one. Of course, after that, though, it's a pretty wide variety of big tracks, super speedways, short tracks. It's kind of all over the place. So what are you feeling is going to be your best chances here to take home a checkered flag in the latter half of this season?
Uh, Probably Talladega. That's good. That's gonna be a crap. It's gonna be a crapshoot for anybody to win. Just need to be at the right place, right time.
Fair enough. I mean, if nothing else, that seems like a solid plan to aim for. But it's been a pretty good run so far here this season. Coming into tonight's event, you were scored back in the 5th place in the championship point standings, and you're only 3 points behind Garrett Streets, and only look like 12 points further back behind Daniel Sparks in 3rd in the points. So in theory, you should still be really up in the contention in the point standings after tonight.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna at least try to pass them both. Hopefully by the end of the season, but hopefully luck will stay on my side for that.
Yeah, there's always the element of uncertainty in racing, so we'll just have to see how things go here in these final 6 races for season number 18. For now, though, I won't keep you here all night. You got a podium finish to go and celebrate, so the microphone is all yours, Mr. Gardner. Who do you want to thank for making things happen?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for broadcasting, everybody out there who's also watching, and I also like to thank iRacing, everybody who races, because without NSM Racing, without them, none of this would be possible.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congratulations on the podium to your name, and I look forward to seeing you next week over at Stafford.
Looking forward to be there too.
So you heard it here first, race fans. Your top 3 finishers here tonight, but of course those weren't the only folks out here in competition here this evening. So how about we take a look down at your other remaining finishers here tonight? At least the unofficial standings, but I don't necessarily think that anything will be really changing in regards to the race results here. Of course, we just talked to Garrett Hess, Brian Sabelski, and Jason Gardner, your top 3 drivers here. Then back and forth in the 188 machine, that is Joshua Rudolph with Johnny Bell in the number 9, rounding out your top 5 here tonight. Back in 6th is that 7 of Kevin Alicia, followed by the 15 of Garrett Streets back in 7th. That'll be the 78 of Derek Murphy back in 8th, with Mark Kluge in the 27 back in 9th, and Michael Sparks rounding out your top 10 here this evening. Then back in 11th, it's the 4 machine of Daniel Sparks, with John Atkins rounding out the tail end of the field here tonight. That said, that's just about all we've got here from the ASRC Oval Series here at the Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Heck of a race here tonight put on by all these drivers. What a crazy finish we had here as well. That's definitely going to be one for the record books here this evening. Of course, next week we'll be here same day, same time, Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for Stafford Motor Speedway, which is a track the league has not visited in a pretty dang long time. So it'll be exciting to see how drivers manage to shake up there at a track even smaller and even flatter than this one is. For now, though, thank you all for tuning in here this evening, and I look forward to seeing